Welcome back to the Chats and Recaps podcast with your host, Sammy.
And Mimi. We're glad you joined us today. So let's get into it.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another podcast. And today we are covering a much anticipated season that I've been trying to get Mimi to watch like forever because, you know, it was one of quote unquote the most controversial seasons of all time and the most controversial Bachelor of all time. Or as many people have very lovingly expressed throughout the episode, the most hated Bachelor of all time. So naturally, I had to watch it for myself. So I've actually seen the whole season, like the whole thing through, whereas she has only seen the Bachelor Greatest Seasons Ever, the condensed version. So I didn't watch the episode because unfortunately I did not have time, but I have seen the whole season. So I will be able to maybe fill in the blanks of some things that you didn't see in the recap. And then obviously we're going to go over the stuff that was discussed in the recap as well.
Well, I did see like 2 or 3 episodes, but I didn't see anything controversial.
You said it was boring.
So it was kind of boring.
That's because the controversial stuff happened at the end.
Yeah, the end, we'll talk about that.
Oh, and I think I already said this, but he was also controversial while his season was airing because of a comment that he made when asked what he thinks about, what was it? He was asked what he thought about having like a gay bachelor or bachelorette, and he said that he does not think it would be right because gay people are more pervert and it's not good for children.
Well, alrighty then.
Which I think is a major issue.
Well, he's entitled to his opinion. Following him, I mean, you don't have to believe what he says, and they don't have to go by what he says. But that's just a shallow opinion.
He's expressing a viewpoint that is prevalent in society and is an issue. So anyway, he could have just said decline to comment. He didn't have to make a comment at all.
But
you know what they say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Well, not him. He's unfiltered.
So, you know, just
he says what he means. I mean, he just says what he's thinking and what he feels.
In certain circumstances, you should just say nothing at all than to say something offensive.
Juan Pablo, is better to say nothing than to say something stupid.
To be offensive. So I will let you take away because you watched the recap and I did not.
Well, it started with the candidates coming out. They showed a couple of the candidates. Claire, of course. Amy J, Nikki, Chelsea, Lucy. The girls that came out of the limo was Cassandra, Danielle, Allie, Nikki, Andy, Christine, Renee, and Claire, pregnant Claire.
Yeah, wasn't that so weird?
Pregnant Claire.
Wasn't that such a weird thing to do?
It was. And then asked him to touch her belly. I was like,
that was weird.
Then they show him talking to Charlene, which I felt at the beginning, I felt like she looks kind of stuck up. She looks like she didn't want to be there. Lucy was way overly natural to me. Hippie. It auto-corrected to hippo, but I said hippie. Bare feet all over the place. Amy J massage with all her oohing and ahhing while she was massaging him. He felt so awkward. He sent her home that night.
Yeah, that was very awkward.
I was like, then it goes to Claire. Sad when she talked about her dad and having brain cancer and all those feelings that she was feeling, you know, and of course, anytime when they talk about their loved ones having a sickness or an illness and they die from it or dying from it, it's always sad. She also stated that her dad made a DVD for her future husband, which when she was to get married, her future husband is supposed to look at the video. On the first date, it said, let's chill out. I know I keep hearing that. I don't know what that is.
Because every time you you talk, you're like shaking the table.
Oh, well, excuse me. So the first date is let's chill out. So he blindfolds her and drives her to a surprise place. It was snow everywhere. It was Winter Wonderland in LA, California. I don't know if it was like summer or fall, but it was supposed to be warm there. And then she said the first date was so amazing and could see herself fall in love with him. Then they show, of course, like beautiful horses and sky view, bungee jumping, rolling inside of a giant ball. Those were things that he did, I guess, in group
those
dates
were little
and
like group dates, right?
Yeah.
I remember the ball one where they got inside this big clear ball and they were like rolling down a hill or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Then Cassandra, she calls her mom 10 times a day, has a 2-year-old called Trey. She says she hopes that it is worth being away from her son to be there with him. And all she does is speak about her son. Like every clip they showed, she was talking about her son and how she misses her son. And she was always crying, which I don't understand why she was there. So then they show her and Juan Pablo sharing pictures and talking about the kids. And it didn't show like at what point she left, so I don't know. Did she not get a rose, or did she just decide to leave?
I remember from watching the season, they had that conversation, and then he said, he had the moms of the season who he said were like his special ones and all that, and he told them that like because they have children that he was taking it like extra seriously with them. So as soon as like if he didn't feel anything, he was gonna send them home right away and not make them wait until the rose ceremony.
Right.
So with Cassandra, he knew that. Basically that it wasn't going to progress, and he sent her home on like a group date. I think it was a group date. He sent her home before the rose ceremony, and he said, I'm sending you home now because I know that it's not going to go advance from here. Okay. And I don't want you to wait to the rose ceremony because those are like days that you could be spending with your son. So I'm just going to send you home now.
See, I don't know. I appreciate that.
And then he sent her home early. I remember that.
No filter. Then they showed Nikki. He called her Fun Nikki. Says she said he's a great kisser and dad. She loves about being she loves being a pediatrician, but she's like a nurse pediatrician. She tells him that she has thought about what it would be like to be a stepmom and that she's ready. If not, she would not be there. So she let him know, listen, I've been thinking about this a long time. I'm ready to be a stepmother. I'm ready to be a mother. And I'm ready to, I'm here. I'm here for you. So Juan says that he really likes Nikki. And I thought they looked great together. I really did. I thought, they looked good together. Him and the opera singer. Mm-hmm. I thought they looked really good together. I never did see anything there between Claire and him. Anyway,
the only thing I saw between him and Claire was a sexual attraction, and that was it.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I saw, because all he kept saying was, oh, Claire hot.
Yeah,
sexy.
Claire was like the sexual attraction. Yeah. Charlene was like a more like emotional, mental attraction. Like I feel like he was more interested in her as a person.
I mean,
obviously she was attractive, but I feel like it was more of a like the conversation and whatnot.
She was very intellectual.
She say
was mind stimulating.
Yeah. So I think he liked that about, he liked talking to her, having conversations with her. Like she was really deep. And I remember in the Women Tell All when everybody was, shouting all over Juan, and she was like, well, I could say, cause we've had lots of conversations about our worldviews and what we think about everything. And so I know his stance on certain things like that and whatnot. So I remember that.
Of course, Charlene is the opera singer. She tells Juan Pablo that he is definitely a total package, even though she didn't think that way in the beginning. Like in the beginning, she thought, what am I doing here? Like we have nothing in common. Right. And as she got to know him and he kept taking her out on dates, she really felt like, wow, you're the total package. So he says that she has a lot of class. When they first kissed, it was like she was not into that kiss at all. Mm-mm. But then she was like, when he pulled away, she was like, wait a minute. Give me another kiss.
That was a good one. Gotta keep that in there. That's hilarious.
She was like, come back. You got to give me another kiss. We got to do this again. Then she really got into it. She was like, oh, wow, he's a good kisser too. Apparently, he's a good kisser. A good kisser. He's a good kisser. Then she told him, close your eyes, and threw out this tune with her voice.
Oh, yeah, when she sang
and
for him.
And she was like, oh, I can't even do what she did. She tells
him. It sounded exactly like that.
She says that she never, ever did that for a guy. Like, ever. He was the first guy she ever did that to. He was actually the first guy she ever opened up to. I mean, you can tell when they show her in the beginning how closed she was.
Yeah.
And how restricted she was. And then towards the ending, before she left, she was like more open, more loose. She kissed him more, and she felt like this really good connection with him. But, well, then he tells her that he likes her because she's classy, she's intelligent, she speaks properly. Which I don't know.
He said he learns when he talks to her.
Yeah, he said, you teach me so much when you talk to me. You say words that I like haven't heard before. Or she's like, what words? He's like, you just say words that I've never heard before. And he's like, what I like about you is that you never try to impress me. And that's what impresses me, because you don't try. It's like, this is me. This is who I am. If you like me, you like me. And if you don't, you don't. She's always herself around him, and that's what he loved about her. But she said there was like something missing. And she tried. She really, really tried to want to be there and continue staying there. But it was just something that wasn't there. She said they connected in all kinds of levels, but there was just that one. There was a missing connection.
Yeah, she said she described it as this like, ethereal like connection. She wants this like magical. Excuse me. What the heck? This like magical.
Something about Charlene.
Yeah, she wanted like looking for this like magical, that like that unexplainable connection you feel when you're just like, that's the one.
Yeah.
And she wasn't having that.
She
connection.
wasn't having like that. Wow, I can see
like
myself
this is the
with
one.
him as his wife.
Yeah,
I think that was the missing link. She couldn't see the future with him. But
that's like the most important thing, though.
I know. What I think they just made a great connection, and I think they would be like the friends for life type thing.
But not romantically.
Yeah. I thought there was a little bit of spark there, just not enough for commitment. Friends with benefits, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
So she decided, when they were in the hometown, she decided to go to him and tell him everything she felt and say, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste another girl's spot who might see herself as his wife.
Yeah.
So she's going home. And he thanked her. I was like, wow, he thanked her. He was like, well, thank you for coming here and thank you for spending time with me, because even though she left, she was going to make it all the way. He said it. You were going to make it like all the way. But he appreciates her honesty and he thanked her. So she left. They gave each other a hug and she left. When they show her today, she's pretty. She's still pretty. And she looks the same. She says she appreciated his honesty, because that was something that throughout the whole entire time that she was there, he was always honest. He was open. He was honest. She almost said he had no filter. And she appreciated that. She felt that a lot of the, I guess what prompted her to want to leave was that there was a communication barrier. Like a lot of times they couldn't understand each other, because, she speaks on an intellectual level. And of course, the language barrier also makes it harder for him to communicate at that intellectual level, or that intelligent level. Not to say that because he doesn't know English, he's stupid. Because he's not stupid. But anyway, so she said that was like a major part of it. But he was a nice guy. He treated her with so much respect. He was honest. He was open with her. And she really liked the time that she was there, you know? Well, today she's married. They asked her, well, how long you been married? She was like, I don't know. It's like, well, when did you get married? I don't know. And he was like, is your husband there to tell us? Yeah. He was like 9/8. She was like, oh, it was 9/8/17. That's his birthday. That's your father's birthday, 9/8.
Yeah.
No kids yet. And her husband is friends with Nick Viall. They're like besties.
That's random.
Yeah. Even though Nick Viall apparently Viall apparently
Nick Viall
made some advances towards Charlene to he was trying to go out with her. But he's like, but it doesn't matter. We're still really good friends. Then they showed a group date. They put their feet, like everybody had to put their feet in this small pool of water with fish to have their dead skin eaten.
Oh yeah, I remember that date.
And they're all acting like
that's
these
like
little
a thing.
kids in there.
You go into these places and they're just stuff with fish in it. You just stick your feet in and they eat your dead skin, and your feet are supposed to come out super soft.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. It's really good.
Wow. Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah. Then they show Andy. I call her Dame un
Andy.
besito.
No, Andy is the it's not okay. And if I hear it's okay one more time, I want to die. That's Andy.
They didn't show that though.
Yeah, when they were having that breakup conversation, he said it's okay. She said something about like, we should stop saying it's okay. It's not okay. And if I hear it's okay one more time, I want to die if I had to hear it's okay again. That's what she said to him. I remember that. And then he's like, well, I don't know what else to say, so that's why I just say it's okay. And then she said something, and then he said it's okay, and he was like, oh, and then he like covered his mouth like because he said it's okay again by accident.
Okay,
I remember that.
I know. Well, they didn't show that. They should have.
It was priceless.
But they did show when they were at the fantasy suite.
Dame un besito.
Because they show her opening the envelope and getting invited to the fantasy suite. And then she's like, well, if I would only accept if I know that you're feeling kind of the same way as I'm feeling, like we're going towards something, then I would go ahead and accept it. And he was like, well, I'm here, you know, like I'm here to get to know you. You know, he's talking in his sexy accent. And then he was like, we can take the key and we can talk all night.
And he said you can ask me any questions and all that.
So then
all of a sudden
the next day morning, she's like, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
I remember watching the season, and when this happened, I was like, oh my God, I wonder what the hell did he do to her in the fantasy suite that she was like, she couldn't get out fast enough. And then when she was explaining the reason why it was such a nightmare, and it was because she was like, well, you know, after I've had time to like think about it all night, I realized that he didn't ask me like any questions about myself, and something about like, I guess he would change the subject when she was talking about something, or he kept trying to kiss her.
Yeah, every time.
And anytime she talked about something serious, he tried to kiss her.
He was like, "Dame un besito."
Yeah, when she would be serious,
she's like, "All you ever say is dame un besito, dame un besito," and then he's like, "Okay."
At the same time, my thing about this was when she was having the conversation with him, like explaining why she had such a horrible time and everything. And he was like, I remember watching the show, and he said, they showed her talking about what happened in the fantasy suite the next day, and then he was talking about how he felt like after coming out of the suite the next day. When he came out this week, he was like, oh, I had such a great time, you know, we just talked and talked and talked, and it was so good, and it was great, and you know, I really liked that girl, and blah blah blah, and like I hope she had a great time too. And then she'll go to Andy, and she's like, I hope he didn't think that went well. And I was like, well, did you tell him it didn't go well, or did you just smile, laugh through it, and then go to sleep and wake up the next morning and then decide that you were pissed off about what happened? My only thing with this conversation is I understand like where she's coming from. If he didn't make an effort to get to know you, or he was changing the subject, then but at the same time, when he said why didn't you tell me something last night? It's true. Like, you had to have open communication. If you were in the fantasy suite with him and you were trying to talk to him about something, and then you kept telling him like, listen, no, this is like really serious. Like, can you take this more seriously? I'm sure he would have.
And he would have
I'm sure he would have taken it more seriously. But if instead you're just like laughing with him and then letting him kiss you, how is he supposed to know
that you're being
how,
serious?
Like how you're feeling
Exactly.
if you don't communicate?
And
so that was my only
anybody.
thing with it. I was like, that's not, and to me, that's not like serious enough for it to be so dramatic.
Yeah, I think she blew it out of proportion to me.
And when he was trying to explain why he says it's okay a lot, it's because he's like, well, I don't know any other like words to use, and I'm not trying to say like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. And then she was like, well, it's not okay. And then he's like, well, it is, because what do you want me to do? Like, I can't change how you feel, so you feel how you feel. And then she's like, well, you should like say something. And it's like, does every woman
what do you want me to do?
Like,
lie to you?
Does every woman just think that you have that, like, if you're feeling upset with something, that you need to be on your knees begging them to forgive you or like all this?
Explain. Please.
So I'm like, I don't know. What do you want? Understand. Like, what do you want to say? If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. And obviously there's nothing that he can say to change your opinion. So what's the point of having the argument? It's like unnecessary.
She was like, I didn't leave a kid behind, but I left a lot of things behind to come here and be with you today, and blah blah blah, and
you got a free vacation and all this stuff. And I was like, it doesn't matter.
It's okay. It's not okay. Well, what do you want me to say? Like, you want me to lie to you? You want me to tell you things that you want to hear? Like, what do you want me to say? She's like, well, every time you say it's okay, I feel disrespected. How do you feel disrespected if he's saying it's okay? I feel like they take it the wrong way when he says it's okay.
It's a lot of like,
because that's like, if you're saying something and I'm like, it's okay, like, he's trying to be comforting. It's not trying to be disrespectful. Like, well, it's okay. I don't know.
No, disrespectful would be like, whatever. Oh well, it doesn't matter. But
thank you.
Saying it's okay, like, it's okay.
She's
if that's
like,
how you feel, it's okay.
You don't know anything about me. You don't know my religion or anything. And he's like, well, what's my religion? You're Catholic.
And he was like, oh, got me.
Well, hello. That's because all the candidates knew more about him than he knew about the candidates.
Usually, yeah.
So I didn't, I don't find any fault in that. Like, I don't know. I thought that was a blown out argument, out of proportion. She said she said that he used default. He said she was
the argument over the word default. And he was like, what is this? He was like, what is this default? And then he said, I said you barely made it, which I think actually was a worse thing to say than to say that you're there by default. I feel like that was a little more insulting.
Did he say that because Charlene left? So that bumped her up?
I guess so. I mean,
that's what I thought.
He probably said barely, because when it comes down to it, he was obviously going to pick Charlene.
You would have been going home and Charlene would have been here.
Yeah, but then Charlene decided to leave, so by default. I know you don't want to hear that word. By default, though, there was nobody else left, so it went to you.
I don't know. I don't understand that he's not excuse me, he's not fluent in English. So you have to be a little bit more patient, because I'm pretty sure if all of this was in Spanish, there wouldn't have been an issue.
Well, I'm like, as having a father who, even though he's like he's good with his English. Yeah. But even so, sometimes there are still certain like language.
They don't know how to express themselves.
Not like, not knowing the right verbiage to use, because some words mean, I think what people don't understand is there are words that mean differently in Spanish than they do in English.
When they transfer in English, it seems kind of rude. It is
kind of a barrier thing.
Yeah.
It kind of is. And I know in like the Women Tell All, they kept saying, oh, it's not a barrier issue. That you don't care is not a barrier issue. But at the same time, it's like, what do you want?
It is.
I mean, part of it is, yes, barrier issue.
Do an interview with him in Spanish on how he felt about every situation.
And I'm sure he'll use a lot more words.
Though, how he would express himself, everybody would be like, oh, damn, that is not at all what we thought. Because there is a language barrier.
I would say
Spanish is his first language.
Go somewhere, go to another country that's another language that's not yours, and then stay there for a couple of years and tell me that in a couple of years, even though you might learn the language, you're still not going to be able to express yourself the same way you would in your native tongue. That's just, it is what it is.
You're not. So she said the fantasy suite was supposed to be time to get to know her, and says that is not what happened. She says She says, we pour our hearts out. And all he says is, it's okay. So she was a candidate and a bachelorette. She's still single.
Oh, yeah. She was the bachelorette for the next season.
She's still single. She wrote...
she's written
she's
2
on her
books.
third book.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on her third. And single and still mingle.
Single and ready to mingle.
Now there's 2 women left. Claire and
Nikki.
Claire.
Oh, Claire, the juicy stuff.
Yeah. He says...
This is the juicy part.
Claire has something about her. He gets hot talking about Claire. Claire tells him he has qualities about him that no other man has. She likes the relationship with his daughter. She talked about him. So what in the world did this all
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. It's a trip reading your notes.
She talked
They're
about
all
him.
over the place in the grammar. She talked about him, so we'll swing him as a husband and falling in love with him. What does that mean? It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. She talked about him. Oh, she talked about him seeing him.
Oh, she talked about seeing him as a husband.
Yeah. She talked about seeing him as a husband, a loving father,
falling in love with him.
She says, honestly, I am just like living.
I'm just loving falling in love with you. I remember her saying that.
No, she said, I am just like loving falling in love with him.
Oh, gotta put the like.
I know, because that's what she said. He does kiss a lot when they're having a hard time speaking. He kisses them.
And says it's okay a lot too.
Yeah.
Like
goes,
if they get lost for words,
he's
like, it's okay.
Give me kiss. Dame besito. She says how she feels, and he said thank you.
Well,
she was like, I think I'm falling in love with you, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, thank you. It's okay. Thank you. So I don't get it. I mean, she kept saying everything was perfect. So what the heck happened?
That was my thing with a lot of these women is when I was watching his season, all the women were talking about how great he is, how awesome, how respectful, and how kind, and how they love how, the moms were like, I love that,
Yeah.
he really respects that we're mothers, and, he doesn't wait and he doesn't play games and all this stuff. And even when they were being sent home, they were still saying good things about him. The only person who didn't have good things to say were Andy and Claire at the end. And then at the Women Tell All, and even Andy was like nicer than some of the other women were in the Women Tell All. She was like, there was some stuff I didn't like and everything, but I'm not going to lie and say that, like other stuff about him that's not true. And my issue is that none of the women had anything bad to say until the Women Tell All, and then all of a sudden he was the worst bachelor ever, and he was terrible, and he had no consideration for anybody. He had no emotion. So I'm like, which one was it? Either did he make you feel special or did he not? Because you can't say one thing and then because you're not picked or jump on a bandwagon and then just decide to change everything around from what you said.
I don't know what happened. So she says since he blindfolded her and said trust him, she has. And he has not given her any reason not to. He's like, well, he was always like, she's hot, she's cute, she's sexy. She says that when there were no cameras and no one around, he whispered something in her ear and it was the worst thing anyone could say. What in the world did he tell her? I think he said...
he said, I don't really know you, but I enjoyed effing you.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Now, I remember this was their last date. They were on a helicopter. The helicopter landed. They were on an island. They were in a private island. He whispered it as they were getting out of the helicopter onto the private island. Now, she did say briefly in a side interview that he said something. She didn't say initially what he had said to her. She just said that it was like, it threw her off. But my thing is,
it threw her
even
off, and it's the worst thing you could tell a person.
If she was so offended by it, she continued to like hold his hand.
Slapped him.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. She like continued to hold his hand and like act like everything was fine, still kissing him and everything and making out with him on the island, even though he said that to her. And it wasn't until after the date was over later in the night, then she was crying about it. He came over to talk to her for them to have like their last conversation before the final rose ceremony. And she like kind of brought it up, but kind of like beat around the bush. She didn't like directly address it. And then he said I forget, he said they had this conversation. Anyway, at the end of the conversation, she was not bothered at all, and she was so happy.
She was happy.
She was like ready to go in the next day and accept the proposal from him.
Yeah, she did.
And this is my problem that I have like with what people say, like, oh, Claire is so strong and she put him in his place. And I'm like, I don't see it that way, because she was ready to accept the proposal.
Yeah.
She went up to the final rose thing, stood there fully expecting, like, she really thought he was going to propose to her. And when he didn't, then she was the scorned woman. I was going to say, as the scorned woman, then she wants to stand up for herself. Yes. I'm sorry, but a strong woman would have put him in his place as soon as he said it in her ear. As soon as he
whispered that in his ear.
Not let him sweet talk you the next day and then go in for a proposal.
I'm sorry, but if there's no love, then what did they do? They fucked. Excuse me. They effed.
Really?
I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't like he told her, oh, I can't wait to F you. He told her, we don't really know each other, but it's like any man. But damn, that shit was good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I wouldn't say that's like any man or whatever, but I mean, I think the comment was inappropriate personally.
But
and
if
I was Claire, I would have been offended by the statement, but also I wouldn't have held his hand and made out with him and not said anything either.
I mean,
but that's just me.
You can't. It's like when your pet does something on the ground and then you want to try to, reprimand your pet. Like,
well, I'm not going to compare him to a dog.
But look, a day later, you can't do that. You've got to reprimand in the beginning.
This is my thing. You cannot not choose. I mean, to me, I would find that comment offensive.
All right, but then you address it right
then
and there.
But at the same time, I wouldn't have held his hand and kissed him and everything. I would have made a big scene about it as soon as it happened.
Me too.
But that's just me. But here's my thing. You can't say it's offensive and then not stick to your gun and at least like have the conversation later. But you let it go under the rug, then continue to be so excited about the idea of him proposing to you and still wanting to marry him, even after he made this quote unquote such offensive comment. And I know he didn't tell her he loved her to sleep with her, because he wouldn't even tell his final girl that he loved her.
Nope. He never told anybody in there that he loved them.
I'm sure he didn't lie and say that he loved her.
No.
So it's just like you can't go past it and then all of a sudden decide later that it's such a terrible thing because he didn't pick you.
Yeah. I mean, even like when he went to her apartment in hometown visit, when he went to her apartment and he was like, oh, you're not going to give me a besito? And she just walked away. Yeah. She's like, no, come on in.
Now.
And then she starts to talk to him, and he starts mentioning a lot of things that happened throughout their whole venture. Things that I haven't heard other bachelors mention throughout the whole venture. Like things he remembered about these women, so many women. And he remembered a lot of things with each one. Things that I haven't seen any other bachelor do. And he tells her all these great things about her. She's all giddy and everything. And then she's like, she starts saying, oh, she feels so safe with him. He makes her feel so safe, and he comforts her, and he's like, trust me. So I do trust him, and I can't wait for tomorrow, and I can't wait for, I'm ready to take that proposal. I could see him as my husband. I could see. Now, she's saying all of this, and then when he doesn't pick her, oh, I can't see you as a father. She sounded so scorned to me. I don't know how America fell in love with her. I am all for woman empowerment, but that to me was not woman empowerment. That to me was a scorned woman. Because nothing that she said to him made sense.
Had he proposed to her that day, she wouldn't be saying any of that.
She would have accepted that proposal, and she would have been on her little giddy way and marry him.
Yep.
So I don't understand. I mean, I don't know how people think, but to me, she was scorned, and she just reacted as a scorned woman. I mean, if it was so bad what he said to her, you should have left that day. Just like Andy left
Yeah.
Because even though she didn't tell him that night, but she still addressed him.
Yeah.
She put him in his place and then she left.
Exactly.
Now, and that's what she should have done.
If he would have said that comment, she would have stood up for herself right then and there and then been like, no. Then
she would have.
If she would have stood up for herself right then and there when he made the comment, then I would say, okay, good for her.
Like,
she put him in his place.
Put him in his place.
But you can't just act like it's not a big deal. And then when you don't get picked, make it a big deal.
That's woman empowerment to me. Putting him in his place the minute that it happened. But don't say it was okay and then be all giddy and everything and wait for that proposal, and because it didn't go your way, now he's the bad guy. You can't have it both ways. I didn't fall in love with her. I'm still not in love with her.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I don't call that woman empowerment. I call that scorned.
Well, if you would have seen the whole season,
and he was like, whew, dodge that bullet. He was like, whew, I'm glad I didn't pick her.
Oh yeah, he did say that. I was like, oh my gosh.
I was like, wow, he has the. I love him.
You're not doing yourself any favors.
I love him because when some of the women were saying that they were leaving, and he's like, it's okay, and they're like, oh, it's not okay. I'm telling you, like, I'm leaving. He's like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna be sad, but I'm not gonna die. It's goodbye. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Then they had Kaylin Bristol and Trista. Now they were saying like, Kaylin, she says that he was the worst bachelor ever. She named her cactus Juan Pablo.
I don't know. I can't agree with that statement. I don't think he's the worst bachelor ever.
She says that she would have ran after he whispered that to her.
I'm confused with what other bachelors have done, like in their seasons and stuff. I don't understand how he gets the title of worst bachelor ever.
I don't either. I don't. Actually, she signed up and it was for his season, but she didn't get chosen. But when she signed up to be a candidate, it was for his season.
Well, oh my gosh, if Caitlyn was on his season, she wouldn't have put up with him.
She also said
because she's like she's real straight up. So she would have been another one, kind of like Andy. I feel like she would have, like, as soon as she felt a red flag, she would have addressed it in the moment. Now Caitlyn Bristow is someone I can agree. She's like women empowerment. You know, doesn't hold back, very straight up, addresses things in the moment. That's to me.
But she didn't say about the woman empowerment. It was Trista who said that Claire put him in his place. She loves anytime a woman has that empowerment moment. To me, that again, Trista needs to get the definition of empowerment, because that wasn't empowerment. That was just scorn. That was just like, acting like a scorned woman, like a woman that was cheated, that was cheated on. And you start bringing out all those things that you hated, but you didn't say you hated when they were happening. So then Kaylin says that she said, I just want to put it out there that if Claire doesn't find anyone on The Bachelorette, that she's interested because she has a crush on her. So, and Kaylin is single, I think. She must be single because she put it out there.
No, she's not. She's with that guy, Jason. I mean,
oh yeah, because Chris said, "Well, what do you think What do you think Jason's gonna think?" And she was like,
"Yeah, I was gonna say she's not single.
Yeah,
she's with that other guy."
Yep. And then Trista says that I'm pretty sure that she was blown away from the lack of respect. Not one time did I see he disrespected any of those women. Other than, of course, what Claire said, that he whispered in her ear,
I would say is disrespectful.
But then, we don't know technically what he said. I mean, we're just assuming he said.
Well, it was a good F. I'm gonna say that that's probably what he said. I don't think she would have made that up.
I don't know.
I don't think she would have made up that he said that.
But other than that, I mean, he respected all the girls. Like, even when Cassandra came on, she said it. He was very respectful, and he was a very straight out and honest person. She said it. And he was very straight out. Then they show her getting ready for the proposal, of course. And it didn't turn out the way she liked it, so she sent him to hell pretty much. And she went on her merry way. She was just pissed. I mean, when she was on the boat, she was saying, oh, I can't believe him. He made me feel like he was gonna pick me. I put everything out there for him. You know what I mean? Like, that's what she was saying when the boat was taking her away.
Yeah.
So, and you see right there, it was showing. She was scorned.
Then another thing, even at the final rose thing, when they have the opportunity to talk to the Bachelor or whatever, again, she wouldn't even talk to him then either. So I'm like, you have another opportunity to like be straight up and at least say it to his face, but she still is not willing to do that.
She was still scorned. I mean, even when she was telling him off, she mentioned Charlene or Carlene, whatever, however you say
Charlene and Andy.
Charlene and Andy, how they left and she lost all respect for him and she wouldn't want him to be the father of her children, yet he was the best father.
So I was like, make up your mind.
He looked confused at her, like, and then he was like, whew, I'm glad I did not pick her. And then she's acting like she's crying, but there was no tears. She's fake. She's totally straight up fake to me. And again, I didn't fall in love with her. Then they showed Diana and Becca. She says her heart was broken for Claire. My heart was not broken for her. And then they didn't really have anything to say, so I didn't really make any notes. And then they go to Nikki. So she tells him that she's in love with him and knows that she's ready. Like, she's ready to accept his proposal. She's all excited. She's getting ready. She's walking up. She's talking about how she's ready to call her mother and tell her, I'm engaged. I felt bad for her.
Yeah, it's really awkward to bury yourself out for that. And then for him to be like, so I have a ring in my pocket, but I'm not 100% sure that, like, I want to be with you forever. And I like you a lot. Like, a lot.
He
I'm
said,
like, really?
Because he was like, he was going to propose to her, but her dad came into his mind. And he said, when I was in hometown, your father told me that if I was not 100% sure, then I should not propose. So because I'm not 100% sure, because we still have to like get to know each other, then I'm not going to propose. And she was like her face just dropped. You could see her face dropped. So he was kind of, I mean, I'm not mad at him because he was kind of respecting her. He was respecting her father. And like when they were on that, when everybody's there, what is it called again?
Reunion?
The reunion. So when they were
after the final rose?
Yeah, after the final rose, that when he gives her the rose, he's like, so would you accept this rose? Because I like you a lot. Like, I really, really like you a lot. And it was like, I don't want you to be my fiance, but I do want you to be my girlfriend. Pretty much, that's
right.
Much.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So she's like, yeah, I'll accept the rose. So then when they was at the reunion, everybody was like, why didn't you propose? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, you know, when you're on the camera and everything. Yeah, he was like when you're on the camera and everything, you know, it's a show, but this is real life. Like, this is my life. This is her life. This is real life. I'm not going to lie to her. He, in other words, he was trying to say, I'm not going to do what everybody's expecting me to do. I'm going to do what's right for her, what's right for me, what's right for everybody. And even though at the end is expected for you to do an engagement, it doesn't always end that way.
Brad didn't pick anybody.
Exactly.
Colton's season ended early with no proposal.
I mean, he didn't propose, but he asked her to be my girlfriend. And
At least he didn't propose to somebody and then change his mind.
Exactly.
And then decide he wanted to propose to somebody else.
Exactly. Those are the worst bachelors for me.
So you think that's better than...
I don't feel like he did anything wrong.
Except for that comment that he made.
When they showed her today.
Well, I stand by my thing that it was disrespectful what he said to Claire.
It was disrespectful, but to me, she should.
There is no but. It's just it was disrespectful.
No, to me, she was the one who needed to put that respect.
It was disrespectful, and the other thing. Well, to me, regardless of the situation, it is disrespectful to make a comment like that. But nothing. It just was disrespectful, and it's just unfortunate that Claire did not stand up for herself as soon as it happened. That would be my takeaway.
So
that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
So they showed Nikki today, and she says she really cared about him at that time and was in love with him, and she was looking for that proposal, but instead she was his girlfriend. They did last a year. There was no moves because she would have been ready to move if he would have told her that he loved her. But because he never told her that he loved her, she didn't feel that support. So she didn't want to make such a big move and then it not work out. And then she's somewhere she's not familiar. You know what I mean? So I respect her for that. And they broke up. But like she said, she defended him because after the show, he got so much backlash, that she felt really bad for him, and she was constantly defending him. And she's like, because when you love someone and you're with someone, you're going to defend them, especially if a lot of things that they're saying is not true. So she said a lot of things were not true, and she was defending him because she said he was an honest person, he was respectful, and he treated everyone with respect. So she didn't understand where all of that was coming from.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, now, what is everybody else seeing? Because I'm not seeing any issues.
So she did say, I defended him. There was a lot of things that she got to know about him that I guess it wasn't like, oh my God, they were telling the truth. But it was just other stuff like...
Kind of, I guess, like what Andy kind of was saying.
Him. Yeah. Yeah, like getting to know him.
Kind of like what Andy...
So
maybe kind of hinted at a little bit.
Kind of. But even with the breakup, she still doesn't feel like he's the worst bachelor.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I saw his whole season start to finish. I'm really confused. I don't understand where did I get this from, because I swear that I was reading, I don't know if it was a note you made or something. I swear, like, tell me, am I crazy? I was reading and I could have sworn I read something about that Nikki did say that he said, I love you, but he wouldn't say it in English. Something about he said it in Spanish, te amo, because he said that it means more and that he feels like people overuse the words, I love you.
No.
Where did I get that from?
He didn't tell her. He said, te quiero mucho. But that means that I like you a lot.
Oh, maybe I read it on. Oops. Maybe I read it on Reddit.
It doesn't mean I love you. It just means that I like you.
I think I read it on Reddit. I think that's where I got it from. Anyway.
But she said he never told her.
Yeah. Did you see
that he loved her?
This was another big issue after the final rose when he was sitting down and they were asking him questions and stuff, and they kept like laying into him, like, why wouldn't you say I love you? Like, why aren't you telling her I love you? And he's like, because I don't. Yeah, and he's like, it's between us. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, and nobody needs to know.
Yeah.
And then everybody was like, boo. So then people were really like not liking him because he wouldn't tell her I love her, and he wouldn't explain to anybody how he feels about her. And he's like, well, that's between us.
That's between them.
He's like, the show's over. So, and then he's like, well, that's not really.
He's
and
like,
then,
this is real
And
life.
then Chris Harrison was like, well, that's not really what you signed up for, because even after the show, people still want to like know how you're doing. And then some of the previous Bachelor or Bachelorette couples were like, well, it's kind of just a part of the gig.
It is a part of the gig.
And then someone said, don't bite the hand that feeds you, as in like you get a lot of opportunities and everything from being on the show.
Okay.
So you do kind of have an obligation is to share Well, you don't have to lie, but at least like you go onto a show for your relationship to be televised. It's not a secret. It's not like you don't know what it is. You've been on a previous season of The Bachelorette. You know how it goes. You know how it works. You know that you're expected to, like share your relationship journey. How are you going to share your relationship journey on the show and then all of a sudden afterwards be like, oh no, not doing it. Every other couple does it. It's a part of the deal.
He was there. He talked. It's just that
no.
Well,
anytime.
Did you ever tell her that you love? No.
And he's like, I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah.
Almost everything they asked. Almost everything.
That's between me and her. When they asked about personal things.
Almost everything they would ask about their relationship, he was like, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to share that.
Because it's personal.
I'm not going to tell you. Your relationship was televised. There's nothing personal about that.
Okay, but I mean, they're asking him like intimate stuff.
And it wasn't really intimate.
For him, it probably felt like it was intimate.
Asking like, well, have you told her I love you? I'm not going to tell you that. All you had to do is say yes or no. Or I've shared with her how I felt, or this or that or the other. But everything that you ask, they ask the question is like, oh, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer. Then why the hell are you here? Why are you on After the Final Rose if you're not going to answer any questions about your relationship?
They made him go.
It's like, here's the thing.
It's like you signed
up for the show. You know that the show is all about publicizing every aspect of your relationships. And then all of a sudden the show is over.
True.
You know that that's something that continues after the show. You're expected to go around, do interviews and talk about your relationship. And then afterwards you want to act like too high and mighty to share anything about your relationship. It was fine when it was being aired on the show. And then afterwards you want to act like, oh, I don't need to be like, then don't sign up for The Bachelor.
But
that's
here's the thing. Okay. Put yourself in his shoes. After the final rose, you know doggone well that reunion is like weeks later. Okay.
It's a lot more than weeks. It's like a couple months after the show's done.
All right. He has been put down, probably spit on, told that he's like the worst piece of shit on earth. He's being like tormented by the people out there.
Jason had the same experience.
And now Brad. You want him to sit there and share with America, who thinks that he's like the lowest piece of crap on earth, his relationship with Nikki. And now I can completely understand him because, if you really look at him when he was sitting there, he was pissed. He was like disgusted, pissed. He looked like he didn't even want to be there. It was like they made him be there. Okay, you can make me be there, but you can't make me answer my private questions. And if everybody treated him so bad like Nikki said they did, would you honestly be sitting there and wanting to be sharing with America after being treated like that when you left? Intimate things that are going on with him and Nikki? No, I wouldn't.
You signed up for the show. You know what you're getting yourself into.
He signed up for it.
He's not the first Bachelor to be villainized on the show.
But he did not sign up to be treated that way, especially when he really didn't do anything.
How many people have not been on Bachelor and Bachelorette and are villainized and are hated, are so hated?
But some of them were. I don't see a reason to have been treating him that way. I didn't see it. For him to be treated that way, and to be like called names and who knows, because there's people out there that when they see you, they be like, spit, you're the lowest scum of the earth.
But what does that have to do with the franchise? I mean,
because it's not about the franchise. It's just like, why would you share your intimate thing or your intimate, and even though you sign up for it, they're all treating you like hell. Even what are the producers treating me like shit or something? Yes, Chris did, because he was like, he was the worst Bachelor. Nikki didn't deserve that. She should have gotten a proposal. She didn't sign up to be a girlfriend. I mean, yeah, he was being backlashed by them.
Did he say that on After the Final Rose?
Yes,
or did he say that on the on the after show? Like,
he said it on the after show and he said it on the talk show.
I remember him saying that. He was just, I think it was like, he didn't say all that stuff. He was just like, there wasn't a proposal and he wouldn't say I love you and whatever.
Chris said
just the usual stuff. I don't know what he said on the recap episode, but on the After the Final Rose, they didn't say that stuff. They were just like, oh, well, catch up, see why he didn't propose. Why didn't he say I love you? Did anything change since then? And he was just like, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. And then the only thing I do know is after the final of the rose, they were really harping on him, like, well, if you really care about this woman, why don't you want to show the world that you care about her? You know, this show is about love stories, and you don't want to share your love story.
The way Chris
and he was
talking,
like, well, I don't need to share that because that's personal between us.
Right.
But you were on the show, like, it's not personal.
I think
your relationship developed in front of the public, in front of the public's eyes, literally televised to millions of people, and now you're saying, oh, it's just personal between you.
I just feel like he was...
Just go to the after final rose, answer the questions, move on with your life.
I feel like he signed up to be a bachelor. He had a great time on The Bachelor.
Just makes you look worse.
He probably felt like he did nothing wrong, but just be honest with these women.
Well, then at least say that, you know?
And then he's being treated like garbage. I mean, how do you expect the person to react? I mean, remember, he's Spanish.
And
you know how Spanish people are when they get pissed. I mean, not just Spanish, but they just don't want to talk. They shut down.
That's a person by person situation, but
there are people that shut down, but then there's a lot of people.
I know, because when I'm angry, I say more than
the public expects
shut down
everyone to speak. Well, not everyone handles things that way. There's people that just shut down. And
it's not treating you like garbage to ask you how you feel in your relationship.
It's just like,
it's not treating you like garbage to say,
but we don't know what goes on behind cameras.
Do you not love her? Like, where are you at in your relationship? How is that treating you like garbage?
I mean, he answered a couple of
Why didn't
questions.
You propose? I'm not going to answer that question because you're treating me like garbage by asking me that question.
No, he did answer that question. Why didn't you propose? Because of a comment that her father made. If he wasn't 100% sure, then he shouldn't propose. He wasn't 100% sure.
I just remember after the final rose, he didn't answer a lot. There were a lot of questions he just wouldn't answer.
But he would not answer the love one, and that was the one that they showed. Because he would not answer, have you told Nikki you love her? Well, that's between me and her.
Yes or no? Well, I'm going to take that as a no, because if it was yes, you probably would have just said yes. And you don't want, and you already know you're getting a lot of shit for not telling her you love her. So.
Nikki was sitting right there with him. So if she wanted to
she did answer the question though. She did say he hasn't said that to her, but she doesn't need to hear it because she knows how he feels. Okay. But he would refuse to answer the question.
That should have been enough.
It's not. It wasn't helping the situation.
Anyway, he wasn't on the show for today. Like what he's doing today or anything.
Of course,
like
why
that.
would he be on the show?
I wouldn't be on it either.
Oh my God.
I feel like you're just talking to a bunch of hypocrites.
So for Claire's season, you know the preview where they showed her like yelling at Juan Pablo for the breakup and all that? And then it was like, she demands respect. And then Juan Pablo tweeted and said, guess somebody still isn't over me. And then he put, P.S. It's not Claire.
What the heck?
Yeah, you know, that was a dig at like the Bachelor franchise for refusing to let him, like every chance they get, oh, don't forget Juan Pablo, worst Bachelor ever, worst Bachelor ever. Like, do you really need to say that every like 5 seconds?
Well, she did say that the Bachelor and what she did is still impacting her today. But
is this Claire?
Yeah, she said, you know, it took time for her to get over it, but she did eventually get over it. I hope so, because she's moving on. And
I hope so. You're the Bachelorette. You're still not over it. It's been how many years?
And she said if she was to see him today, she would not react like she did in the past. She would actually thank him because there were some great moments in the season, and she would just like to thank him because it did make her the person she is today. So she said the whole situation and everything, like she had like reflections of the show, and she feels like she grew from those experiences. She said she found herself, and she's actually excited to be the Bachelorette. She is not anxious or nervous, and she is just ready to start the journey. She says she is happy that the dates are going to be in that bubble that they say because of the quarantine. They're not going to travel anywhere, so it's going to be secluded. And she says she's glad that it's going to be that way because it's going to be more intimate. So she's going to have more one-on-one.
True.
And get to know them more instead of being excited about where they're at.
That's true.
And just focus on what,
That's what we were saying about like them being quarantined in the facility. We're like, that would probably actually be like a good thing because then they just focus on their relationship.
I mean, who wouldn't want to travel?
It's a blessing in disguise.
But she just feels like this is going to be like, we're going to get to know each other.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to be like looking at the site or being all goo gaga with the site and everything. And, no, because some people fall in love with the situation they're in.
That's true.
And not with who they're with. So she says she's excited. Then she showed the house that they have her in. She has some personal things in there. She's like, oh, these are my personal little things that she added all around the house. She's like, this is the dog room. So she's got her dogs with her. And then they show the pool. Cool. And I'm sorry. I didn't think it was that great of a place.
That nice.
It looked like one of those resort places that you would put someone in.
Yeah.
I mean, when she was showing the pool, they have like this little hot tub area thing, and then the pool, and that water looked like it was kind of green.
They're like, these are the only people here. They're not cleaning it.
So it's like, I don't see it really a great place.
It's the La Quinta Resort.
It looks like
it's literally the La Quinta Resort somewhere. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's called the La Quinta Inn.
I mean, it looks
like La Quinta Resort.
There's nothing in there high end.
In like the hottest place on earth, close to hell.
There's nothing high end.
It's gonna be like Bachelor in Paradise style, where they're like sweating all the time, and it's just like really hot. Yeah, good times.
And then when she showed the backyard, you could see the next door houses. And then
it's not houses; it's a resort.
It's a wood fence.
It's a resort
covering her yard. It looked like a middle class house.
I think at that time they were still, she was possibly still like being quarantined for the 2-week period before the filming started.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
because he said, so we're going to start filming. So this is the last show. And then he said, you're going to be filming 2 weeks before I get there. So then, they talked a little bit about that. And then I thought they were going to talk about some of the candidates, but they didn't. No. So I was kind of upset. And then
you can see the candidate pictures in a very, very, very brief bio, like one sentence of each guy on her season.
Yeah, so that was it. I mean, I got used to them doing the season. I think they should do that every couple of years.
Yeah. I'm glad the recaps are over and we can get into a fresh season full of new things to talk about.
Well, I'll only watch it.
Full of new things to talk about.
I will watch it, period.
Yeah. So that wraps up the Juan Pablo's greatest season ever Bachelor recap.
Juan Pablo, I love you.
Ill. And like we said, he is, well, not ill, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I love him, but whatever.
Straight out. He's forward. He's non-filtered.
He's a little rude.
I love him.
A little rude.
That's not rude. Being straight out is not rude.
I think I gave a fair assessment. You were a little overly complimentative, and I feel like I was fairly judging. I don't know if that's even like the right word to use. I feel like I was equal.
You were equality.
Yeah. So anyways, that wraps up Juan Pablo's season recap from Bachelor Greatest Seasons Ever. Like you said, this is the last episode of that. So we won't be coming back with the recaps until the new season airs, which will be October 13th, will be the first episode of Claire's season airing. This Friday, we're going to be posting a episode that is going to be about our favorite like small artists. So we're going to be talking about some small artists that you should listen to if you haven't already. And then I'm going to do a full zodiac breakdown of Claire. We're going to really get to know like who is Claire really, based off of the facts of her zodiac sign. And I have to tell you, I have compiled some compelling evidence on her character, and I'm gonna,
which made sense on Juan Pablo.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about Claire based on her zodiac sign. That I would be really curious to know. I would really love her to listen to and be like, to see if she goes, oh my God,
I know, right?
how does she know that that's me? I don't know. I think I got pretty spot on based off of some things I've observed from her being on Bachelor in Paradise and all that stuff. So I think I have compiled a pretty accurate description of who she is that explains a lot of her behaviors.
Well, Claire, if you're listening and you want to know about yourself, tune in.
Because we all know astrology is fact.
True story. Ouch.
So
That's why you have issues with your knees.
So thank you so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed yourself. If you have not already, oh, it's so funny.
We hope that you enjoyed yourself.
Let me try that again.
Vibrate.
Let's start over. So thank you for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. And we hope that you are staying safe, happy, and healthy and manifesting everything you desire out of life.
Amen.